Hello, thank you for the Light of Infinite Festival. Erez, thank you so much for having me here. It's such an honor to be working with you. And I'm very excited to give a class on how to transform your life. So I'm Balat Tshuva. My name is Kineret. I am married to Rabbi Perez, who spoke at 3:30. And the class that I want to give today is about transformation. So I would like to start with Safar Bereshit, which is to me the Torah is the initiation of all things. And I think that from the book we can really learn how to align our life with the way Hashem wants it to be. So at the book of Bereshit, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us instructions on how to get things done and how he created things. So in the book of Bereshit, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying that he created the world with words. So, Vayomer Elokim Yehi Rakia Betoch HaMayim Vihi Mavdil Ben Mayim LeMayim, which means HaKadosh Baruch Hu said that there will be Rakia inside of the Mayim, and he separated between the water and the water. So, and then later on he's saying that we're created in his image, which means that by being created in his spiritual image, we create with words as well. So a Jewish neshama is connected to 4 worlds of creation. Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. Atzilut is kind of like the world where the highest neshamas are. It's almost like Atzula is like royalty. Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, Bria, and Asiya. Then it's the world of creating from nothing. Then it's the world creating something from something. And then it's the world of action, which is our world. So our neshama, by connected to the worlds of creation, materialize things down. And so being in God's image and learning from the first book of the Torah, which is a book of Bereshit, we learn that God created the world with his words, and we're able to create our life with words as well. So I guess it's the beginning of all things, that there's so many also teachings in non-Judaism, like The Secret and this and that, and they start with the basic information of the fact that we create our world with words and with feelings, and if we're positive, we create with positivity, and we have to think positive and be positive. But thank God we have the Torah that takes us to even more depth of how doing it. Because in the brain it's so easy to say, okay, so I'm going to create with positive thinkings, but then comes a negative thought or a negative feeling. So what am I doing with this, and where is that coming from, and how do I overcome that? So when we continue reading a little bit further in the book of Bereshit, we learn about the 2 brothers, Cain and Abel, and the story of the fruit that Chava ate. So I'm going to start with the fruit first. So Adam and Chava received the ability to live in Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. They didn't really have to do anything. It was all nice. They could do everything that they wanted. They didn't have to work. Life was beautiful. And later on, but they had one boundary. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put one boundary on them. He said, don't eat from these fruits. So of course, as human beings, boundaries are not easy for us. And the angel sent the snake to kind of temper with Chava, and the snake came and started convincing her to eat from the fruit. And so what was the snake telling her? Let me... ויאמר אל האישה, אף כי אמר... והנחש היה ערום מכל חיית השדה אשר עשה אדוני אלוהים. ויאמר אל האישה, אף כי אמר אלוהים לא תאכלו מכל עץ הגן. ותאמר האישה אל הנחש, מפרי עץ הגן נאכל. So the snake told her, Hashem said, don't eat from the fruits. And she said, no, Hashem said we can eat from the fruits. ומפרי העץ אשר בתוך הגן אמר אלוקים לא תאכלו ממנו ולא תיגעו בו פן תמותון. And she said, but from this specific tree, he said, don't eat it because you're gonna die, because we're gonna die. So the snake told her, no, you're not gonna die, because Hashem knows that the day you're gonna eat from that fruit, your eyes are gonna open up and you're gonna be like Hashem, knowing to distinguish between good and bad. So Chava looked at the fruit and she started having a temptation because the fruit looks good, and she took it, she ate from it, and then she gave the men to eat it too. And that's where our life starts. The confusion starts. I call it the gym. The gym started. So when you go to the gym, let's say you want to develop muscles right now. Now, if you went to the gym and you're lifting up weights and there's no weight on the weights, you're not going to gain any muscle and nothing is going to happen. But if you want to gain muscle and you want to get fit and get healthy, you're going to have to start putting weight on the muscle. And this is pretty much the work that we're starting to do, that human beings started to do as soon as they ate from the fruit. They started having to work in order to gain. No longer the Garden of Eden, the fruits were exposed, they're able to get whatever they want and do whatever they wanted, but now they had to work in order to receive. And how does it work? It worked with a cuss that the Adam and Eve received. So Eve received the cuss of אל האישה אמר הרבה צבונך ועירונך בעצב תלדי בנים ואל אישך תשוקתך והוא ימשול בך. So Hashem told the woman, I'm going to make your agony and your pregnancy in sadness. You're going to have children. You're going to have desire for your husband, and he's going to govern over you. And for the men, he said, if you heard my voice, ולאדם אמר, כי שמעת לכל אשתך ותאכל מן העץ אשר ציוויתיך לאמור לא תאכל, ממנו ארורה האדמה בצבונך בעיצבון תאכלנה כל ימי חייה. וקוץ ודרדר תצמיח לך, ואכלת את עשב השדה בזיעת אפיך תאכל לחם, עד שובך אל האדמה, כי ממנה לקחת, כי עפר אתה ואל עפר תשוב. So he told the men that no longer you're going to be able to receive fruit from the land. You're going to have to, in agony, work very hard to get food, and you're going to have to work very hard until you come from the dust, because from dust you came, to dust you go. A few sentences before that, Hashem is coming to Adam and he's asking Adam, what did you do? And Adam blamed Eve, and blamed also Hashem. He said, it's the woman you gave me that tempted me to do it. And when he came to Eve, she said, it's the snake that convinced me. So actually, one of the lessons that we have here is that if Adam or Eve, any of them were humble enough to own responsibility to their actions, we would not be living the life that we have right now. Because what they did, instead of looking at their actions and correcting and apologizing and owning up to their mistakes, they blamed each other. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, okay, you guys are not taking responsibility, you're not cleaning up your actions, now your whole life is going to change. And now the work that we have, all humankind, is to pretty much correct the actions of Adam and Eve. When we do negative actions, specific actions, we leave nitzotzot shel neshama. Nitzotzot is like sparkles of souls. And we leave it, and now we have to learn how to gain it back to complete ourselves and be more in alignment with the way Hashem, with the way Kadosh Baruch Hu created his world. I'm going to continue to one more story after that. And that about the story of the children. So when Eve actually had the relationship with a snake, she also had a sexual relation with a snake, and he put inside of her jealousy, which is one of the first traits that identify the woman. There are more jealousy in the women's world than in the men world, and we know that through the history, and also we can see through the centuries of the Torah and what we're being taught. But so I'm going to take it to the story of Cain and Abel to explain a little bit more. So of course the snake received also a cuss, that he's walking on his stomach, and he's gonna eat, his food is gonna be dust. And the question that is being asked, why is it such a bad cuss? Because he has food whenever he wants. He doesn't have to work for it anymore. It makes life so easy. And the answer is that by eating dust, you don't need to have a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu anymore, because you just get your food whenever you want. So there is no really reality of connecting to Hashem. There's no relationship, and it's really the lowest level of being in the world, because the most beautiful thing in the world that we have is the relationship with Hashem, and being able to ask and receive and being able to talk. And really, the more work you do to connect to him, the more wonderful life becomes. So I'm going to take it to the next story of Cain and Abel. So Cain was the first one to give a mincha, an offering to Hashem. And he went and brought. So Cain was land worshiping. So what he did, he gave from the pri adama, from the fruit of the land, and he gathered it and he brought it to Hashem. And after him, Abel also did the same thing. He went, but Abel was more working with the sheep and the animals. So he took some animal and he sacrificed them to Hashem. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu came and he decided he's only going to take Abel offering, Cain got very upset, and what he ended up doing is, out of jealousy, killing Abel. Of course, he didn't know what killing is, but he got really angry, and through the jealousy, he committed the crime of killing. And that's where the beginning of our tikkun is being shown. That's the first place where we're learning what it is that we need to do. What opponent do we receive in the world in order to gain the life that we want? And it's everything in our life. If it's in spiritual abundance, if it's financial abundance, if it's in a relationship with your husband, your wife, your children, your employers, your employees, like literally your friends, any relationship that you have, it all comes down to the same thing. And that thing sits on leaderships. We have internal leaderships that also turns into external leaderships, because the way we lead ourselves and the way we speak to ourselves is also the way we lead and teach other people. So I'm going to go back to the story of Cain and Abel. And so what Hashem is telling Cain, is ויאמר השם אל קין, למה חרה לך ולמה נפלו פניך? הלא אם תיטיב שאת, ואם לא תיטיב, לפתח חטאת רובץ, ואלך את שוקותו ואתה תמשול בו. Which means he's telling him, why did your face fall down? Even if you're going to bring the best, or you're not going to bring the best, you have the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, that is sitting on the entrance to you, and you're going to have desire towards him, and you would be able to conquer him. So he's telling him, practically you have an evil inclination. If you're going to be able to give better, you're not going to be able to give better. You have someone who's going to try to bring challenge to you, and you're going to be able to conquer him. And so Cain did not listen to the suggestion. He got up and he killed him. And now I'm going to start going into the depth of explanation of what is the first chapter, of what these first pages of the Torah is telling us. So when a baby is created, the baby's automatic response is to cry. And when the baby cries, he receives what he wants. Later on in the future, the baby starts looking at his reality and saying, okay, grown-ups, they don't cry. What are they doing? Also, they try to shushu me, so clearly they don't want me to cry. So what do they do with their feelings? What do they do when they want something? What do they do with their pain? So he sees, okay, mommy, she's not crying, but she gets angry when she wants something. Dad, he's not crying, so he goes to jealousy or to pride when he wants something. Mom is going to sadness. Dad is going so he started learning. So, okay, so I have pain, and this pain has to be substituted like the grown-ups do. And it's almost like it's done subconsciously. It's not that the baby's sitting and analyzing it, because the baby's brain is very small, but he's just kind of like sucking it in, and the parents are like screening on him, and he's just learning how to behave. Just like a baby learned to talk, he's learning to pick up the traits of the parents. It's called tikkun avot, which means the tikkun, the correction from the forefathers. That's why the tikkun, the correction for we say that we reincarnate in groups of souls. So whatever the forefathers that we have it too. It passes along, like the anger passes along. And until someone says, okay, that's it, I'm doing work and I'm correcting myself, it's going to continually pass on for generations. But one neshama is enough to heal past and future as well. So it's enough for one person with a whole entire bloodline to get up and say, okay, I'm making a change. I'm changing myself to impact everything around them and everyone around them. So how do you do it? So what's the process? So first of all, there is an internal campus. And the campus is actually the pain. In Hebrew, pain is called ke'ev. Ke'av. Ke'av means like father. So ke'ev get us closer to Father. Ke'ev get us closer to Hashem. Ke'ev is like a campus that is telling you, oh, look, you're going in the wrong direction. You're not in alignment with the way Hashem wants you to be. So let's start looking at it. Let's start aligning yourself with the way Hashem wants you to be. The issue is that most of the world don't understand the value of pain, and people don't want to feel pain. They don't agree to surrender to it. So what they do, they start transforming pain to traits. And the more objection you have to feel your feelings, the farther away you're going to get from your heart. So let's say there is a baby, now there is a pain, and there is a layer and a layer and a layer and a layer and a layer. And the farther away we get with the traits, the more painful it is, and the harder it will be to go back in. So in order to go back in, one of the ways is to agree, because you see that there is two sides in our heart. There is the right side and the left side. So the left side is where the evil inclination sits. The right side is the Kadosh Baruch Hu inclination. It's the Yetzirah Tov, which is the good inclination. So on the left side is the voices that are talking to us, and these voices are the one that brings the pain. So it's almost like there is the subconscious mind and the scriptures in the subconscious mind, and the scriptures creates feelings. So let's say someone has a tendency to tell to themselves, I want to get something done. I can't get it accomplished. What I'm going to do, I'm going to start pressuring myself. Oh, you're not doing it good. You're horrible. You're not very good at this. You're so lazy, and starting to get themselves to do things. That's the way they learn to get motivated. So they would say negative things to themselves to get motivated. They would do whatever they need to do, but getting the things done would be very painful for them. That's why sometimes people they don't want to do things, because every time they do it, they start feeling pain. Just an example, there's so many examples, but I just gave an example. How does it work? So we have pain. On the top of the pain, there is traits. There is a way we talk to ourselves, the way we lead ourselves, and the way we lead our reality. So the same person that is talking to themselves negatively to get work done, they do the same to the children. Come on, get up, you're so lazy, takes you forever to get things done, I can't wait for you all day, come on, do it. And then they start doing the same thing to the children too, or to whoever they have around them. Okay, so Akadosh Baruch Hu created the world so there is light, which is light that he brings down through something that's called Sefirot, and there is vessels, which is we are the vessels. And Akadosh Baruch Hu is taking us from place A to place B. Every person has a path that they can take, and that path that they're taking of spiritual growth, in order to grow, there's two ways. One of them is through doing mitzvahs, and the other one is growing through pain. So a person will be taken from place A to place B. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is making the whole world grow. But now the question is, how are we going to get there? And the way we're going to get there is our choice. Either way, even growing through mitzvahs, it's going to take lifting weights, which is gaining a way to win with a war, with forces that resides inside of us, in order to gain spiritual growth. So I'll give an example. So Rabbi Nachman is saying, Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar meod, which means the whole entire world is a very narrow bridge. So let's say I'm doing like a bridge with my hands right now, okay? So now I decided I want to grow. So let's take a growth in just say, let's say I'm a person who I wants to get things done, but every time I wants to get things done, there's voices inside of me that are telling me, I don't want to do it. And so these voices, they're internal voices, they're sitting on a backstory. There's something going on inside of me. And now I want to grow to do it, okay? So now I'm going and I'm doing these things, and I'm starting to write down, what am I telling myself while I'm doing it? And it's almost like labor. It's like the beginning when I'm start doing things against my desires, I'm going to sit in this very narrow place inside of me. At least if I write it down, I see who am I standing against. And by writing these things down, I can start leading them out of my system. At the beginning, it's going to get very difficult. Why? Because I'm going to go against my nature. But when one decides to go against his nature, HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes against the nature with him. Let's say, for example, someone who's used to do things with anger. Now he doesn't want to act from anger anymore. So every time something happened in his reality that he doesn't like, his automatic response would be, I'm getting angry. Why do most people get angry? Because with anger, they receive things, or they at least perceive in their subconscious mind. They know if I get angry, people would want to give me what I want. So because they're scared of me. So they found a way subconsciously to get what they want easily. So now a person said, okay, I want to clean the anger inside of me. I don't want to get angry anymore. What am I going to do now? So the beginning is don't react. Stop. Don't do anything. Now, sometimes it's too difficult. So what do? You start having a relationship with your heart. And you start asking, what am I feeling right now? So it's better like to isolate yourself. Okay, so I'm going to go back a little bit to Rabbi Nachman, because most of my teachings is based on Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov and Rabbi Nachman. So Rabbi Nachman is saying 23 hours a day you need to lead your heart to happiness, and 1 hour a day is to do something that's called itbodedut, which means isolating yourself from the reality and just having a relationship with your heart and trying to see what makes you who you are, what moves you. And by doing kind of like a tshuva, which means teshuvia, which is getting closer to Hashem. How do we do that? Is we reflect on our actions, we reflect on our feelings, we reflect on our thoughts, and we start purifying them, we start cleansing them. So one way to work with the anger, for example, is if you have time right there and then, that's wonderful. Isolate yourself and just agree to feel. You feel like it's burning, like fire is coming inside of you, but you're gonna sit down and you're not gonna act from it. Now it's gonna be very, very, looking at it is gonna be very convincing, because the anger would give you all the reasons in the world why you should act from your anger, why your anger is justified, why these people are wrong. It's gonna give you like a book of like why you're right and they're wrong, why it's okay to hurt other people, why, million stories. But let's take the word sin for a second. In Hebrew, sin is chet. Chet means chatzitza me'atov ha'eloki, which means creating a separation between us and the good of Hashem. Every time we sin, we separate ourselves from Hashem a little bit more, and that's even more painful. So now we want to put a boundary on the feeling. We agree to feel it, but we put a boundary on acting from it. Boundaries is everything. Because once a person does not have boundaries, even we know it from last week parasha, that the Zimri ben Salu, he wanted to have relationship with Kusbi Batsur, but and there was some sparkles of souls in that relationship, but instead of putting a boundary on the action and going and asking the wise men, he decided to do it on his own, going against the wise men, or the wise men. So he did not put a boundary on his action, but he acted from an instant. If he was taking the time, he's like, okay, I want to do this. Let me do it the right way. Maybe I can convert her. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can find a way to do it the right way. But he didn't care about doing it the right way. He just wanted to do it right here, right then. And that was pretty much taking his life from heaven to hell, because he was a huge tzaddik. He fell on his sin, but he was the grandson of Yaakov Avinu. He was one of the people who actually saw Egypt and left Egypt. He was one of the highest spiritual leaders of Am Yisrael. And it's a huge sin that, if he actually took the time and did not do anything and put a boundary on the action, even though he had a very strong desire there, he would have not failed like this. So that's an idea how to work on anger. So stop, don't act, listen, write down. You can even go ahead and write down and start having a relationship with the heart. The beginning is the hardest. Why? Because it's almost like you're taking a horse, and now you say, okay, I'm taking this craziest horse, I'm going to start training it. Of course, it's going to be very difficult because this is a wild horse. You're opening the gate. What is the horse is going to do? He's going to want to run everywhere. He's going to go crazy. He's going to try to break the walls of he's going to try to do everything. So the beginning is you might even more act from that horse. But now if you want to train that horse and you want to learn how to ride it, because eventually you can ride on that horse, and it could take you farther away than you would ever be able to without it. So if you want to start learning how to ride that horse, you have to learn to tame it. And how do you tame it? You learn to talk to it. You learn its language. You learn what it wants from you, what it's telling you. It doesn't mean that you're going to do what the horse is telling you, but it means that once you have a relationship with him, you can quiet him down. So like, you know, like the riders, like, ho, ho, they have like their own relationship with the horses. Same thing with the evil inclination. The evil inclination is sitting on a pain that was built from childhood. A kid wanted something. The parents said no. The parents saw that the kid saw that someone in his life go to anger. Then he threw a fist and he received what he wanted. The pain is locked there, or maybe he didn't receive what he wanted, or you know what I mean? It could be many things, but the pain is locked there. And on the top of the pain that he wasn't willing to feel, now there is a trait. For example, I'll give an example for my childhood, for things that I worked on. I had people who lived next door to us where we used to live, and their kids played with my son a lot. And I remember one incident, well, many incidents that I was trying to go out to the reality and fix it for them. And Todale Hashem, a lot of the anger was cleaned out of me. But back then I had more, the trait of the anger was stronger inside of me. And every time I would try to go fix it, then I had a lot of anger. And so when I started doing this process, I said, okay, don't do anything in the reality. Just isolate yourself, work on yourself, and then come back to the reality. So I sat down with myself. I started doing the work and just agreeing to feel. So I had a lot of pain, like I was viewing my son's life from my own eyes. So like viewing my life from my son's eyes. I wasn't living the reality, but I was living my son's experiences through my own childhood. So I was sitting there and I agreed to feel the pain. I agreed to feel the pain of the son back. My heart took me when I was maybe 10 years old. There is a circle of people. It's me and another girl sitting in the middle of the circle. We're hitting each other and everybody in the circle yelling at her name. Nobody yells my name. And we're just like fighting, like fist fighting. And I had so much pain there, I remember. And I went back, even now, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is past, present, and future. So it's almost like I went backwards to the incident where a lot of the anger was built inside of me. And, you know, there's moment, like I had the pain of the fighting with her. The pain transformed to anger. This trauma stayed locked inside of me. And now in my present reality, I'm acting from it. It's aggravating me. So when you go back and you agree to feel the anger, you go back in the pain. The pain will show you your story, because we all have so many stories. All of our actions are sitting on like childhood stories. So I went back, I sat on this, I cried, I agreed to be, I let myself feel. I came back to the reality. These kids were knocking on the door asking for apology. And after they apologized, they also asked to play with my son again. Now, this is above nature. Why is it above nature? Because it's never happened before that they came and apologized. It's not in the nature of the children. I know it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu was showing me, look, you're doing your effort not to act from your nature. I'm going to go above nature with you as well. So, Toda Hashem Yitbarach. Thank you, Hashem. If we decide to go against our nature, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going against the nature with us. And after this, I've practiced it in so many different areas of my life, and I can't even explain or fathom or use words to how incredible HaKadosh Baruch Hu was with me, helping me with literally every single part of my life. It's not easy to go against your nature, because your nature has been built. It's your the way you've been acting since birth, since childhood. But when you do make the effort and you work at yourself to grow, everything changes. It's really like, I would say, the difference between living in hell or heaven. Living happy with your life, with your children, with your husband, with everything. Because now, instead of judging or feeling superior or pride to other people, because I went through the process of seeing myself. When I see someone else falling also into trait, I'm like, oh, they have anger. Oh, so do I. Okay, you don't get angry on people anymore. You don't feel above people, because we're all from dust. We came to dust. We go. We all go through processes of growth, and sometimes you need to be a receiver. Sometimes you need to be a giver. Sometimes you have this lesson. Sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu put you on that lesson. Once you understand and you start giving up and surrendering to the reality that HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates for you, it's no longer a challenge. It's almost like, at the beginning of life, you're sitting and you're thinking you're driving the car and it's so nice. And then you're like, oh, there's actually like a big driver here. And I'm just little driver thinking that I'm moving the wheel left and right, but I'm not really doing anything. It's him that's doing the really big move. And I'm just sitting next to him, and I'm either trying to fight the wheel and take it my own direction. It's not going to work. Or I'm just enjoying the ride and like, thank you, Hashem. This is so nice. Like, I'm actually going to learn to shift my internal world to enjoy and learn to go through the expansion. Because when you grow, then there is a new dimension inside of yourself. I call it an expansion of consciousness. And I remember when I started doing this work, you go through a very narrow place, and then you have the space. And I remember I asked, okay, so what am I doing with all this space? This is such a good space. Now I don't get angry so much. I don't go to pride too much. What am I doing this new space? And all of a sudden, holiness came straight in. I wasn't, doing a lot of holy things before, because I just didn't know. But Todah Hashem Yitbarach, as soon as this new place opened inside of me, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu automatically put in some kedusha into my life, which was really transformational. Because when you live a life of kedusha, there's nothing that makes a person happier in the world. It's just like, our body craves and needs water. Our neshama craves and needs spiritual information, and we can't really live without it. And before that, I saw myself as a I would say, I don't know how to say it, so aniya. There's people that go in like a beggar. I was a beggar for spiritual information, and I begged in so many different places, but everything was enough, but it wasn't it. It wasn't the thing for me. And eventually I stumbled upon the religion and the Torah, and then I was like, okay, this is it. Like, my whole life I had like this, and I was like, what is this? They dress differently. They look differently. I don't get it. Has nothing to do with me. I didn't grow up that way. It doesn't belong to me. But once I agreed to be a little bit more open-minded and to see, what is this? What is this book, the Torah? What are they teaching you? I just, then everything changed. Another example that I can give, let's say you're driving on the 101 freeway, and your whole life you're driving against traffic, and you're hitting car and you're crashing car, and you think that this is the nature. Yeah, it's just like, it's a ouch. And they're like, hang on one second, this is not the best way to go. Let me try the other side. Of course, Hashem sent leaders to teach you the other side once you want. Chazal Omrim, the way you'd want to go, that's the way they're going to lead you to go. So once I wanted to go and I wanted to learn the right way, there was actually a time when I was really beat in my life, and I was like, okay, I literally, I give up, I surrender. And that's where I came with such a strong desire to change and to grow and to get closer to Hashem, is when everything was given to me. So when you move and you go with the right lane, then life becomes really transformational. So another example that I started giving, so let's say we are the vessel and the Kadosh Baruch Hu is the light. So if we are the vessel and the Kadosh Baruch Hu is the light, what is in that space that is not the light if you feel empty? So let's talk about feelings. So the vessel every moment has something different. So one moment it has happiness, and one moment it has sadness, and one moment it has jealousy and pride and competition and this and that. So these feelings is what make us feel good or bad. And once you start learning that, every moment, it's really like a moment to moment work. But thank God, the more you work, the easier it becomes. Now I want to start taking out whatever doesn't serve me anymore. And you don't really have to put much what does work, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu does it for you. The moment you start moving away from the bad, the good automatically comes in. The Jewish day starts at night. Also, for Am Yisrael is Sur Mera v'aseh tov, which means move away from the bad and then do the good. So by moving away from the bad, automatically the light comes in. But there is some, good things that we can do to make our life easier. But I think if you do learn how to move from the bad, you don't need to worry about the good, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu automatically would bring the good for you. Okay, so let's go back a little bit. So we said there is the vessel, and I just want to explain some of the traits, for example. So let's say pride. So this is the strongest one. And I was contemplating about this, and I talk about it to my husband, and yesterday I had like an interesting revelation, because so every time you put someone down in your consciousness, it calls pride. So, and it's something that we all do in specific different times of our lives. Someone says something that hurts our feeling, automatically we look for a way to put him down, and there's so many people that are saying about other people, oh, he's psychotic, he's crazy, he's this, he's that, he's not normal. And it just excuses not to agree to feel the pain, because once we go to pride, automatically, I'm good, he's bad. I put him down, and I don't need to feel any pain because I'm great. So the work is just to agree to feel the pain, because you see that under the pride there is also anger, and under the anger there is pain, and we all have like literally a body of pain that exists inside of us. And in order to grow from that body of pain, what we have to do is we have to sit in the layers of the traits and then penetrate into the pain. And by penetrating into the pain, we start healing it. Okay. So now we have a vessel, and the vessel has different quantities. We all, of course, have everything. And now we want to start doing the work. So we start connecting. When you see the campus is going like, ooh, 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 we start saying, okay, what am I feeling right now? Ideally, the way I like doing it is doing 1 hour a day. I love the mountains, but you don't even have to do it in the mountains. You can do it 5 minutes a day, 2 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, just something that you can really like put a boundary on yourself to commit to it, because committing to it is all is the most important thing in the world. Also, you have to remember that this work is very, very holy. The Neviot, the prophets used to do it. It's work of the prophets. And it's not going to be just handed to you. So you really have to fight for it with your evil inclination. Because most likely, if you don't have really strong desire is your kingdom. So if your kingdom, your desire is really not strong there, and you don't pray on it, and you don't communicate to Hashem on it, and you don't ask for help and assistance, Siyata Dishmaya, ask, the tzaddikim, and ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to help you to have the force to actually do it, most likely you're not going to be able to do it. Because, like I said, it's the holiest thing in the world. And when you don't, because when you pray, you talk to Hashem. When you study Torah, Hashem talks to you. But this is both. You're talking to Hashem, and Hashem talks to you back. Not only that, sitting in the traits is the tikkun. This is the reincarnation. This is why we came out here for. I remember that the 5 years I did this work, I grew spiritually more than I did my whole entire life. Why? Because I was able to really view myself and analyze myself. It's almost like I was going through a surgery of my own traits, and learning what makes me do things, what makes me move, and how do I separate myself from all the bad that's created inside of me, and how can I bring myself into the reality in a better way. So when we have two internal options, our neshama automatically will take us to the highest place. So once you learn to build in higher places, you no longer need the lower places to go. So that's how kind of they drop. And of course, we don't do it alone. We don't take ourselves out of Egypt. We've messed up too much in our life. So only Hashem can take us out of Egypt. Egypt in Hebrew means Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim means narrow places. Narrow places means the narrow places that we have in our heart. So each and every one of us have our own internal Mitzrayim, our own internal narrow places in our hearts. And once we agree to sit in it and put a boundary on it and not act from it and learn how to lead it, is when we really grow spiritually. So one of the most important things that I said before is the pride, is that we put people down. Underneath that, a lot of times, most of the time, there is anger. And this process is almost like, you know, your whole life you've been putting, like, let's say you're going to swim and you learn to cover your whole entire body with floaties, and you think that you can swim with floaties, but now the floaties just make you, you know, drown. And now you're saying, okay, I'm going to start removing these floaties. It's kind of scary at the beginning because you don't know how the water are going to feel and how you're going to, you know, you have to have a lot of faith in Hashem to kind of like help you and, you know, lead you and guide you on how to do this. But giving up these floaties, which are the negative traits that leads all of us in different times of our lives, is what really capture us in our hell. And by working and growing from it, we pick up nitzotzot shel neshama, we pick up sparkles of souls from our past. So the heart is not going to always open up and say, oh, this is what happened when you're a child. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's going to be bored and it's not going to want to talk to you. Sometimes it's going to be tired. And I let myself do whatever I want to do in the bodeduyot. Sometimes I sleep, then I let my heart sleep. Sometimes I want to just not talk, and I'm not talking. Sometimes I would speak for 1 hour with Hashem, and I'd be like opening up like my whole entire life. Sometimes I just let my heart be the way it wants to be, because this is my 1 hour a day where I let my heart do whatever it wants to say with boundaries of the actions. Of course, I'm not going to act from these places if they're negative, but I've just let myself be who I am. But in the reality, of course, because this is the world of Hashem, and I don't want to ruin the world of Hashem, and I don't want to destroy the world of Hashem, even in matter of thoughts, because, you know, you have a negative thought about someone, you bring something that's called dinim, you bring judgments of people. So let's say someone did something to hurt you. You think that you think negatively about him and it doesn't make effects on our life. It's not the truth. Because the evil inclination is run by an angel, and this angel is looking for your words, is looking for your thoughts. Because if there's nothing going on here, it cannot talk to Hashem and put this person down. But if you speak about it, we partner up with the evil inclination, and that's how the world is being destroyed. It's the upper world and the lower world joining together to destroy. And that's what makes people like, you know, I had even someone recently shared with me that they have financial difficulties, and when she shared with me, I really wanted to come in and help, and I was praying about it, and I remembered that in the past someone spoke to me about this person, and they shared some things, and unfortunately I wasn't quick enough to block the Lashon Hara, because it's better to block it in right away, not to hear it, but I was there, I was present, and I didn't block it fast enough, and I received this information. And so I understood that the reason she was having financial difficulties is because she did something to the other person that is financial. And there is some judgment on her. There is a deen that is sitting on her, and that's why her financial is not opening up for her, because what she did was pretty serious. So sometimes there is judgment, and if we can fix it with the person, you know, if you took something from someone that, you know, and you can, you know, self-reflect and correct yourself by paying the person back or doing something to fix it. A lot of times, like, you know, all of a sudden you get such a huge change in your life, because when we do things, we don't understand the consequences that it has on our lives. But it does tremendously, because it's not just what's going on here. We're connected to high worlds. We created to creation with our mouth, with our thoughts, with our actions. You know, Melech in Hebrew is the king. Melech moach lev klayot kaved, which is what's moach, brain, heart, kidney. The brain is supposed to lead the heart and the kidneys, but how do we make that process work, we have to bring the tikkun, the reincarnation, the fixing of things up. We have to go from the lower to the upper. But how do we know how to heal if we don't know what's going on here? So first of all, we have to see what's going on here in the actions, what's going on in the heart, and only then with the Torah, with the wisdom of the Torah, and I recommend everyone to have that Torah, wisdom of the Torah, everyone to have someone who they trust and they count on, that have a wisdom of the Torah, to be a leader and to come in to ask when you're unclear. Because a lot of times our brain is going to tell us, oh, you should do this and this and this, and these are the completely wrong, completely against the Torah, you should completely not do it, but your brain kind of convinced you to do it anyways. I'll just give one example. Now you have a girlfriend, and the girlfriend is telling you that her boyfriend broke up with her, and he was the most incredible person, and she loved him, and this and that and that. And what would a friend do automatically? Yeah, but he also did this to you, and he's not that great, and da-da. What does she try to do? She just tried to make her feel better and disconnect her from her feelings. It's not the right way to go. The best way is just to let the person feel whatever they feel and grow from their feeling, because by trying to isolate her heart from that person, who knows, it's like, first of all, she's supposed to go through the pain. Maybe there's some process that her brain is going to teach her. But more than just that, she's disconnecting her from the truth. We need to exist in the reality. And the more leshon hara we do, the more badly we speak about other people, the more we lock ourselves in imaginary world. Rabbi Nachman says that people who do a lot of bad talking about other people, they fall into a world of imagination. They become delusional. They no longer live here. So that's another thing to be very careful of, is to try to keep your mouth very clean and to talk as little as possible about other people. Honestly, my best friends is rabbis in YouTube. When I have free time, that's where I try to go and get as much. A lot of them don't know me, but I'm one of their best friends because I get so much information from them. So Bezrat Hashem, hopefully the information that I give can be valuable. And Bezrat Hashem, that we're all gonna be able to do as many Idbodeduyot as we possibly can, preferably every day if we can. If you can, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. If you can reach to an hour, that would be absolutely incredible. And in this Idbodeduyot, I would do as much gratitude as possible, and then I would self-reflect and tap to feel my heart. And I would also get some Da'at Torah, wisdom of the Torah, someone in my life to come and that I can get advice from in choosing what to do. And it was a pleasure being here. And Erez, you're wonderful, and it's such a blessing to be a part of your group. And my husband and I are very blessed to know you and to meet you. And may Hashem bring huge success to your book and a blessing in everything that you do. And thank you so much for being a part of our life. And I pray that the Light of Infinite would be a huge success. And thank you so much.